Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. It is episode 157 and today I am back in England. I have returned back from my holiday in the Philippines. I am ridiculously jet lagged at this point in time. I've just got off, I think it was about so we had a 2-hour flight from Cebu, which is where I was staying in the Philippines, to Hong Kong. And then we had a little wait over there. And then it was a 13-hour flight from Hong Kong back over into London Heathrow. And now I am back in the studio recording this Hermitcraft episode. And I have to say, as much as I absolutely love my time in the Philippines, it's quite nice to be home. I mean, it's nice to be back in the studio. It's been cool just looking around. I've been looking after my camera equipment and basically cleaning everything up and getting everything shipshape, ready for all of the recording sessions and all of the plans that I have lined up over the next couple of weeks for both sets of channels, which is all extremely exciting. But that being said, I mean, I absolutely loved my time away. I had such a good time. So in today's episode, what I'm going to try my best to do is kind of run you through some of the things that I did while doing a little bit of resource gathering. At least that's what we're going to be doing for this first section. I'm so out of practice with Minecraft. I was never particularly good at killing things in Minecraft, but my aim is so far off where I haven't touched a computer for a couple of weeks that I can barely kill anything. But before we do any of that, I've just had a thought. I have been away from the server for around about 2.5 weeks. So that means that in theory, there should have been a few people maybe who have done my flight course. Actually it doesn't look much different. Oh, okay. No one is coming even close to me. Joe Hills. I don't mean to laugh, but that's an impressive time there. 1 minute 38 seconds. Did he go around the whole Minecraft world and then come back? I can't believe this is the first time I've ever been the best at something. Maybe I got a little bit more practice in than all of the other hermits. I guess I probably did. I've done this like a number of times now, but oh wow, okay, no, maybe not after I've just come back from holiday. I'm still in holiday mode, I can't quite fly. Let's fly back over to the base and we'll start gathering some bits to actually do some resource gathering. First thing that we're going to need is the beacon, and this beacon is finally going to be removed from this area here. I don't know how long this has been here, probably near on 100 episodes, so yeah, it's about time that we change this location. So now that that's done, I'm just in the process of creating a gigantic hole right the way down to y equals 11. So you guys know the drill. We need to get this place set up with the beacon and where? I've mentioned this a couple of times. Did you guys just see that black particle? Where does that black particle come from? You've mentioned it down in the comment section. I occasionally see it, and I still, for the life of me, have absolutely no idea where it comes from. It's really, really strange. Anyway, let's get this beacon set up. All right, let's do this. I would say I'm going to do a couple of hours of resource gathering. We need to get a bunch because we have used up pretty much all our redstone supplies. We've definitely used up all our coal supplies. We don't have any lapis yet. We have barely anything left. So I'm going to do a massive mining session, and we're going to do it in the form of a time lapse. So let's have fun. Now, during this time lapse chat, I thought it would be fun to just chill out and kind of run through my trip to the Philippines, because I really haven't spoken too much about it. I wasn't on the internet at all while I was in the Philippines, so I really didn't. In fact, I didn't even turn on my phone for the first week. I only turned on my phone about a week in just to make sure that nothing had gone wrong on YouTube. And then when I realized that everything was shipshape and everything was working properly, I turned it all off again and went away. So essentially I had no contact with the outside world or the internet while I was away, which I have to say was really quite refreshing. This is the first time I've done that really ever since I got access to the internet. So that's probably the longest time I've spent away from it. And yeah, it was quite nice. But I'm not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the holiday, because if you are interested in going to the Philippines, or perhaps you've never really heard of the Philippines and want to know a little bit about it, then this could be quite interesting for you. So first things first, the Philippines is made up of loads of different islands, thousands of different islands. I went to an island called Cebu, and I stayed in an area called Mumbo, which is towards the south of Cebu, I do believe, and it's famous for its diving. So if you're into scuba diving, or you're interested in snorkeling, then it's a fantastic location for it, because it has got crazy coral reefs and all sorts of different sea life. And I have to say, as someone that had never snorkeled before, which is surprising because I mean, I'm someone that's big into water. I love water sports. Obviously, I enjoy surfing ever since I was a kid. I've always enjoyed going to the ocean. I've always enjoyed swimming. It's a little bit strange that at 22 years old, I'd never been snorkeling before, but I have to say Cebu was an excellent first location for it, and I'll get onto that in a little bit. But the first thing that I want to mention is markets. In terms of going to the Philippines and going to cool areas, the markets are honestly some of the coolest places, mainly for someone like me, because I absolutely love food, and the food that you can get at the markets in the Philippines, I don't know how they do it. I've had so many barbecues in my lifetime, okay? I love barbecues. I really do love barbecues in England, but they have been totally ruined by the barbecues in the Philippines, because I don't know how the food tastes so good for them. And like, just you go to them and it's just tons of kebabs, and you basically pick what you want, and then they chuck it on the barbecue. You wait around for a little while, and then that's it. That's the food that you get. And for someone as a tourist who's going over there, it's so affordable. It costs, I think, about 150 pesos for food that you can share between one or two people, and 150 pesos is around about £2. So surprisingly affordable for the quality of food that you could get. I could eat that all day long. That and the rotisserie chickens that you can get from the side of the road, they are amazing. Like, seriously amazing. I have no clue what they put inside those chickens, or what they put on the outside of the chickens, or a combination of putting inside and on the outside of the chicken. But whatever it is, it is absolutely incredible. So all of the food that I had while I was away was absolutely fantastic. And also, one fun thing about traveling to and from the markets is that, well, traveling in the Philippines is quite interesting as someone that comes from England, because the road laws are just so different. The way that the roads work are so different from England, where everything's very nice and ordered, and nobody beeps their horns or anything like that. Nobody overtakes. Everyone just stays in a nice straight line, and nobody does anything out of the ordinary. And if you do, you get some hand gestures and people getting angry. In the Philippines, it's kind of all over the place, but it's an ordered all over the place, in that you overtake, but as you overtake, you beep the horn, and if you're undertaken, you beep the horn, and basically everyone goes around everything. And there are people traveling really slowly. There are the tricycles, which is like a form of taxi cab. It's like a motorbike with an extra bit on the side that people sit in, and these things get piled high with people to the point where they can barely move anymore, so you have to go around them, and everyone's just kind of overtaking everyone, but it works really well. And I rented a scooter while I was out there. You quickly learn how the roads work. You have to be very careful, of course, but you just go past, you beat people, you make sure that they know that you're overtaken, you just make sure that your presence is heard, essentially, because otherwise you're going to get cut up and people are going to pull in front of you, and you're going to get yourself into some sticky situations. So it's always entertaining traveling in the Philippines, that's for sure. But yeah, the food is amazing. The markets are really interesting. And as I say, in the location that I was, snorkeling for the first time was crazy. I had no clue, and I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but I had no clue how close the sea life is to the beach. That sounds so stupid as someone that is in the ocean a lot. I love going in the ocean. I had no idea that if you swim out, I mean, I'm sure it's different in different locations, but where we were, you would swim out maybe 10 meters with the snorkel on, and instantly you would start seeing starfish, and then you would start seeing all sorts of different fish swimming around, and then eventually you'd run into the corals, and then once you swam out maybe 15 meters into the sea, you were just surrounded by brightly coloured corals and all sorts of... I mean, the sea urchins there, they were... I would not want to step on one of these things. It looks like it's the sort of thing that would actually go through your entire foot. They were serious business. There was also a lot of jellyfish, which was something to be wary of during high tide. High tide would bring in the jellyfish, and I got stung pretty badly on one of the days without actually realising. The jellyfish are so small that you can't really see them, so I thought my skin was just reacting badly to the water. I've never had that before, but for some reason I just went with that. It was only when I came out and everyone was like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to go snorkeling today, there's loads of jellyfish, that I realised that I was just being constantly stung by jellyfish. But when I went back in, I actually started seeing some bigger ones, and I was much more wary of it. But then once you swam out further, obviously you reach the drop-off, where the corals just kind of drop off into the deep ocean, and that's where you get the sardine runs, where people were essentially fishing just out past the drop off, and that had basically got a whole bunch of fish to come to that location, and I was just swimming with them, and it was so surreal. It was so odd, and it's definitely clocked me onto the fact that in the future I do really want to try out diving. Diving is not something that I'd ever really been interested in before, but just that small snorkeling experience, oh, it's totally wild. It was so cool, and I spent hours out there just lying face down in the water, just looking at all these things, and just being in complete awe at the underwater life, because I'd never really experienced before. It was completely crazy. So, yeah, just for snorkeling alone, Philippines is definitely an interesting place, especially if you've never been snorkeling before, because it's just crazy to see how much you can see not far away from the beach, and it barely costs anything to do. I mean, you can rent a mask and a snorkel for like 200 pesos, and if you want to buy them, I think ours were around about 1,000 pesos, which was, or was it 2,000 pesos? It was quite expensive for the snorkel and the mask, but it was well worth the investment. I'm going to be taking that thing everywhere. Anyway, as far as locations that we went to while we were in the Philippines, we went to a bunch of different interesting places. We went to a handful of waterfalls, a place called Kawasan Falls, which if you Google, it has the most incredible turquoisey green water, and it's a stunning place, and you can swim in that water as well. Swim under the waterfall, it's really cool. We also went to a place called, I'm really going to butcher the name of this, but it was, I think, Mantaupan Falls, which is a waterfall which is about 92 meters high. So a big waterfall, and once again, it has a little area that you can swim down at the bottom of the waterfall, so we were swimming around there. Didn't fancy swimming under that one though, because the water looked like it was falling pretty hard. I didn't really fancy that, but it was amazing. It looked like something out of Avatar. You'd look up and you were in this valley, and yeah, it just looked like something out of Avatar. There was jungle trees growing up all the sides. It was incredible, and the coolest thing was, to get to this place, you actually needed to cross a rope bridge, like an old school style rope bridge over another waterfall, which wasn't quite as tall, but it was all very, very impressive. And as I say, I'll be posting all of this stuff on Instagram. I'll be sharing all of this with you. But it looked really, really awesome. And then also next to Mantaupan Falls, there's a fishing place, a leisure fishing place, which once again, I'd never been fishing before. That's something I've been. Well, actually, that's not true. I've been fishing once, but it was an unsuccessful fishing session. This was my first time going fishing. All we had is a stick of bamboo with some string and then a hook, and then you get given some bait, and then you just cast your line out and you wait. And I caught my first ever fish. I was actually one of the only people of the day to catch a fish, which definitely felt good. And it was my first ever fish, and that was awesome. That's definitely something I want to do more in the future as well, is fishing, because the feeling of catching the fish and getting that bite and then hooking it out the water, I don't know, it was really, it was kind of like primal, almost like, I don't know how to describe the feeling, but it was like a real rush catching it. I don't know, maybe those of you who fish will understand what I'm talking about. If you've never fished before, you're probably like, this guy's gone completely mental. But it was definitely interesting, and yeah, that was cool, especially just fishing with that bamboo stick. None of that real stuff, it was just whoop, straight out of the water, and yeah, it was really, really cool. We also went to hot springs. I wouldn't necessarily call them hot springs. I think they were more like tidal springs, in that the water is brought in by the tide, it fills up these pools, and then, yeah, they're really cool to swim in. It's like almost like a natural swimming pool. That was pretty sweet. We did some archery, which was interesting. I was absolutely terrible at it, which for some reason I had this confidence that I was going to be good at archery, and that totally wasn't the case. And then also went to a bunch of different beaches, of course, did snorkeling in all these locations. Pretty much everywhere in the Philippines. It is absolutely beautiful. It's an incredible country in terms of how mountainous it is, the roads, just a view from all the roads. It's just, and even when you're in the city, the way that the city's set up, with all these shops stacked on top of one another, and people selling like welding shops and vulcanizing shops, and then tiny little stalls that are selling pretty much everything they can possibly fit in the smallest place. It's all so interesting to look at. So it was one of the most visually interesting places that I've been, and that was all in Cebu. And then for the last few days of the trip, we went to a place called Bohol, which is an island that's nearish Cebu. It's pretty much next door, and we travelled there via the ferry. And we just went there for 2 days because there's some really interesting sites in Bohol. There's a place called the Chocolate Hills, which are these rather strange land formations. I think there's about 1,700 of these chocolate hills. And if you Google it, they look like a glitch. And it's the strangest thing, because you go up, you stand on top of this big hill in the center, and you look around, and there's all these perfectly round hills surrounding you, and it genuinely looks like just a terrain generation bug. It's really, really strange. It's probably one of the coolest places I've ever been, and I was incredibly impressed by that. I could have stood there all day. But also we looked at the Tarsiers, which are these tiny primates. They're the smallest primates in the world, and they're native to Bohol. They're some of the only ones in the world, and they were absolutely adorable. They weren't doing much because they are nocturnal, but they were so cute. But when they do open up their eyes, they have these enormous eyes. They're almost the size of the actual animal itself, and they're incredibly cute. So that was cool to see. We also saw the man-made forest, which is where the president of the Philippines back in the 80s said that you weren't able to graduate college unless you planted a tree. So obviously all of the college people had to plant trees, and now there's this stunning mahogany forest in the center of Philippines. It's all perfectly, all these trees are standing up perfectly straight. It's an amazing place to look at. And then one of the coolest things that actually happened while we were in Bohol is the taxi driver which was taking us to all of these locations. There was a fiesta going on in Bohol, and he said that some of his friends were actually having a fiesta, and he invited us to it, and we went there. We had some gorgeous food. The food was absolutely incredible, and we got to meet a bunch of people from the Philippines and chat to them for a little bit and just have a really good time. So all in all, it was such an incredible trip. All of the people that we met were so lovely. Everyone's incredibly accommodating. Everyone's incredibly friendly. It's absolutely beautiful, and I would 100% recommend it to anyone who is interested in going to the Philippines. And even if you aren't interested in going to the Philippines, hopefully after I've spoken about it, you know a little bit more about what the Philippines is like. And maybe you should add it to your list of places to go in the future, because as I say, I would recommend it to absolutely anyone. Anyway, I've rambled on for long enough here. Hopefully you enjoyed this little chat. Hopefully I've covered everything, and hopefully it was relatively interesting. But anyway, let's pop back onto the Hermitcraft server. Well, I gotta say, I am incredibly disappointed with how much we've managed to do in a couple of hours of mining. What I thought I'd do, oh my word, is I mined until I was outside of the beacon range in all directions, or I ran into lava. So in all directions here, this is the maximum that I could go with the beacon, and this is all we got. Now, granted, it's a lot of coal, and we were going for coal because, I mean, we've completely run out of the stuff. But I mean, come on, 32 diamonds? Is that some kind of joke? I remember we've done a 1 hour session and we got a stack and a half of diamonds. To get only 32 diamond ore, that is nothing. That's just next to nothing. Either way, I'm quickly going to pop over to my base. We're going to erect a rather large structure in the center with all of these items, and then we can go through it with a Fortune 3 pickaxe and see how much this actually is. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, I don't really know. Well, I'm not right now. I mean, for some reason... Whoa, that was close. But, I mean, if anything, I'm more disappointed now that I've seen this in pillar form. Surely it can only get better from here. And you know what? With these diamonds, that looked like a pretty solid start. Look, we keep getting 4. We keep getting 4 diamonds from each block. If we continue like this, we can have thousands. So here we go. Nearly there. Almost reached the end. And before all of you launch at me down in the comment section saying that I'm cheating and that my pickaxe hasn't lost any durability, I use mending on this pickaxe, which means as I break the blocks, the durability goes back up, because I could already feel some of you writing it down in the comment section. But I have to say, now that I've actually mined out all of this stuff, we didn't do as badly as I thought. It's still not that impressive. So we got a stack and a half of diamonds almost. We got around about, so that's 12, 13 stacks of lapis. We got quite a decent supply of coal. I'd say that's about 22, 23 stacks. And then a whole bunch of redstone. That's 18 plus probably another 18. So that's 36 stacks in total roughly. And then 2 more stacks of coal. Yeah, it went pretty well. It went pretty well. I don't know why I was expecting. Maybe because I've been away from Minecraft for so long, I forget how much resources you... I mean, this is the longest I've been away from Minecraft in about 3 years, and that is 2 weeks. So that shows you how much I play Minecraft. But, But yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I was expecting a little bit too much. Still, I'm fairly happy with how this one went. I hope that you enjoyed this slightly more chilled and relaxed episode of Hermitcraft. It's realistically all I could really manage while I was this jet lagged. I've been kind of falling asleep in my computer chair during today's episode, so I do hope that you enjoyed it. We will be back to doing wicked episodes in the next one when I'm slightly more alive, alert, and well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later. Oh, and check out the latest film on the filming channel. There'll be a link on the end screen. I think you might enjoy it.